What is a woman?
Why do you ask that question?
I just really like to know.
What do you think the answer to that question is?
Well, I'm asking. That's why I came to a college professor who's this is what you do.
What other kinds of answers have you gotten?
A lot of like this, where you're not answering. I've gotten a lot of that. So.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of IDRYB Reacts. I am Lutch, your host, and today we are going to be going through the very controversial documentary, What is a Woman? But then we get into one of the best parts of the film, where we talk to Dr. Patrick Gerzanka. Gerzanka, I believe his name is. He is a professor, as you can see, professor of women, gender, and sexuality studies at the University of Tennessee. So lots of goodies here. The first thing he does is ask the difference between gender and sex. So I actually am not very happy with the way he did this, because I would have liked to hear the answer, but this is what they did instead.
Start with, we've got gender and sex, right?
Yeah.
What's the difference between the two? Is there a difference?
I saw that in your questions and I thought, my goodness, this is what we spend an entire semester kind of thinking through. But what we tend to think about in the social sciences today is that sex refers to a set of biological characteristics and gender is a social construct or category. What I think is often misleading about that characterization is allowed to be sort of messy and complicated. But in that framing, when you split them up into these wholly discrete constructs, study scholars, and really more specifically people who study gender and sex, we're not talking about sexuality right now. And the kind of academic universe that I travel in is that we see how deeply gendered ideas, cultural ideas about masculinity and femininity, maleness and femaleness, both in humans and in lots of other animals.
So I wish he would have actually let that play out. You know, it's not like this is a super long movie. It's, you know, what, an hour and 35 minutes. And we really could have gotten a lot out of hearing exactly what he has to say there. I get the point. I get that we already, that he, being Matt, already knows that he's not going to agree with whatever conclusion Patrick here has. But in the interest of being a documentarian, then I think we should, especially, you know, being on the streets and getting these half non-answers from people, it would have been nice to actually have somebody who is answering these types of questions in a full way and to hear what they have to say. But we didn't get that. So we go through all of that. He asked if someone has all, male characteristics, even if they dress as a woman, why wouldn't we call them a male? And he gets super defensive.
If we're talking about a trans woman has all of the male physical characteristics, so would that not be a male then? Couldn't we plainly say this person is a male?
Well, I guess it's like...
So sorry to interrupt your podcast experience. I just want to remind you, if you're enjoying what you're watching, please hit the like button and subscribe for more content. And if you really love it, there's some support links in the description. I would love if you could help out the channel. And back to the show.
Why are you asking the question? I think I want to understand sort of why that's so important. So if someone tells you...
to sort of understand reality, you know?
Well, I mean, I think when someone tells you who they are, you should believe them. So if a person says that they're a woman or they're a man, then that's them telling you their gender is. I'm not so sure what social interactions would have to do with maleness or femaleness that we...
Well, I'm not even talking about social context. I'm just trying to start by getting to the truth, you know.
He wants to get to the truth. This is a university professor, University of Tennessee, and he said, I want to get to the truth. And this is his reaction.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really uncomfortable with that language of like getting to the truth again.
I'm really uncomfortable with that language, getting to the truth. And then I think he goes on to say it's
in social life.
Why is that uncomfortable?
Because it sounds actually deeply transphobic to me.
Deeply transphobic. He just goes through and answering questions with other questions. Again, talking about what is this? Like, what do you think it is? So Matt moves on. He's like, okay, but somebody could make an untrue statement about themselves. Like, if I said, I'm a black man, would you accept that? And he just goes, are you? Well, no, I would say that's not, you being genuine. Which is like, yeah, that's my point, that somebody could make a statement about themselves that is ingenuine. I cannot explain in words how weird this guy's reaction is.
I guess this all comes down to really one question. Especially women, gender, and sexuality studies. So what is a woman?
Why do you ask that question?
Flabbergasted.
I just really like to know.
What do you think the answer to that question is?
Well, I'm asking. That's why I came to a college professor who this is what you do.
What other kinds of answers have you gotten?
A lot of like this, where you're not answering. I've gotten a lot of that. So
I think it's interesting that you say that some of the people you've interviewed have been reluctant to answer it, and I think that has a lot to do with the questions that preceded it and the way that you've conducted yourself in the interview.
How have I conducted myself?
How do you think you've conducted yourself?
And that just goes on. And you know, they actually do continue. And of course we get to the original question: what is a woman? And Dr. Patrick here answers is, again, what a person who identifies as a woman. And Matt's just like, what is that? I'm like, what do you mean, a woman? Someone who identifies as a woman. And he's like, are you familiar with circular definitions? You can't use the word to define the word. Like if I say, what is a can? It's something that's in the shape of a can. Like that doesn't tell you anything. And again, the point being, I want to find the answers to these questions. And so it's just alarming that you'd think that, okay, you get this type of discourse on, you know, on Facebook or in a Twitter thread or whatever. But this guy is not only a professor at an esteemed university, but this is his subject. This is what he does. So to not only be so ignorant as to what it is that he's talking about, and again, we have to be fair that, you know, the Matt Walsh and the editors cut out a lot of that original answer. So maybe there's something in there that really let us know, and they edited him in the most unfavorable way possible. Even if that is the case, I don't see how much better it could get. But again, he is just not willing to engage with this topic. What he does say, another thing he says that is rather interesting. Matt asks him again, and he's like, see, you're looking for an essentialist definition. And Matt's like, no, I'm just looking for a definition. But I would have liked Matt to say, okay, so what is an essentialist definition? And what is a different type of definition that you could give me? Like, okay, you can't give me an essentialist, whatever that means, definition of a woman. What about in a different context? What is that type of definition? Didn't even go there. Not that I think, you know, we would have gotten much out of it, but that's all from Patrick for now.